Okay, so if I seem exhausted this morning, it's because
He's just bragging, people.
No, it's because I got to ride along with CID last night, and
With Captain Daffin?
not with Captain Daffin. I rode with Captain Daffin a few months ago, which was exciting, which is something else we'll talk about. But rode last night with them because, man, you guys are pounding the pavement out there. I love it. Love it. Welcome, Captain Daffin.
Episode 7 of the podcast Behind the Star.
Already?
Yes. Can you believe it?
God.
Soon it'll be episode 100. I'm just waiting for it. But we welcome you to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I know you've just been chomping at the bit. Couldn't wait to get in here. You are captain over and commander over the Criminal Investigations Division. I don't know. Every time I have somebody in, I want to say that's the most exciting and busy, but you really are busy, and things are very exciting over there because you really get to deal with the felony cases.
Yes, and it kind of goes to what he was out with last night. I think a lot of people see the shirt and tie. I think we're in the office all the time, but as you experienced last night, we have a bunch of vehicle burglaries that we've been dealing with, and so we do special operations to go address those that a lot of people don't realize we're out doing that and beating the streets and trying to get an end result for those. So.
And that's just one of the things that you guys do. We're talking about the Criminal Investigations Division, not to be confused with the SID Division, which is who we had on the last episode, which is the vice crimes, the drugs, the prostitution, the gambling. Every other crime, you guys deal with. The Criminal Investigations Division. Go ahead and give me an umbrella of what you guys cover as far as the crimes.
So in the Criminal Investigations Division, we deal with all felony cases. So not that we don't deal with misdemeanors from time to time or even drugs, because last night they did get some drugs off the street doing their operation. But typically we deal with felony cases such as burglaries, robberies, homicide, sexual battery, child crimes, fraudulent our fraud cases with our financial crimes unit, domestic violence. So those are typically the ones that we deal with and focus on.
So you have investigators that are actually specializing in these areas, like scams and frauds, child crimes, which you work with Gulf Coast Children's Advocacy Center.
A lot.
Do a big plug for them. They're just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, they are phenomenal. They bring so much to helping us help the most innocent in our community by their efforts and our relationship with them. We actually have 2 investigators that are assigned at the Children's Advocacy Center to work child crimes. So a very good partnership with them.
And we appreciate them very much. Bay Rock falls under your command. Domestic violence, human trafficking, you have an investigator that's specializing in those too. Why is it important to have these different small groups within your larger division?
So everybody works a little bit of everything, but we do have groups that are specialized units, such as you just mentioned, the domestic violence unit that handles domestic violence. They also focus on our human trafficking. We have our child crimes unit, which they deal sometimes with some of the human trafficking aspect as well. And we have our financial crimes unit that deals with scams and fraud. And then so having those specialty units, we can send them to specified training for that. The domestic violence unit is a pretty big deal because they become familiar with these victims. And unfortunately, a lot of these victims are repeat victims. Sure. And so having that one-on-one contact, they're familiar with the investigator, they're familiar with our victim advocate that's part of that unit as well. It makes a difference in us being able to have successful prosecution.
Corporal Burnett does that, and she's also a member of the Human Trafficking Task Force as well.
That is correct. And we do, as far as human trafficking, as you just mentioned, there is a task force. We do go to monthly meetings with that. We discuss any kind of cases that could potentially be that. There's a lot of different entities that are at this meeting that bring their information in for us. And there's also some tip hotlines. Those get forwarded to us. I'm on that tip hotline, and we will vet those as they come in, and those will get assigned out to make sure we run down any information regarding human trafficking.
I don't think a lot of people realize what the process is when it comes to getting the CID involved, as far as, patrol gets a call. Okay, the guys in green come, they answer the call, they see what kind of call it is, whether it's a fraud case, whether it is a sexual abuse case, whether it is a battery case, domestic case. They take that call, they take that report, and then all those reports you guys look at the next morning to go over and I guess delegate who gets what and what gets investigated.
Yeah, so as you said, the deputy takes the report there on the scene, and unless it's a major crime that's just happened, sometimes the investigator will get called and they will come to the scene after hours or whatnot. They're on an on-call status. However, most of the time they'll take the initial report information. We do see every report that the agency takes, and so we read those every morning from every division. All the supervisors in CID read them, and then we will assign them based on if it's a felony in nature, where the geographical location is. The investigator that works that area will assign it to them, or if it's one of these that fall in the specialty units, we'll assign it to those specialty units for follow-up.
I know that I get complaints from friends, family.
Well, tell them to knock it off.
Scams.
enough.
Scams. I'm getting scammed. I got a scam call. I got the number to the scammer. And they all want to have us do something. So we're getting a lot of those, hundreds and hundreds, I'm sure, and lots of victims. What's the most, I don't say popular, but what's the most common?
I will say
scam?
What's the trendiest?
Yes,
right now?
I will say I
Yeah.
get more calls, and this has been going on for years with the jury duty, and you miss jury duty. I just had a friend the other day call and asked me if it was legit. These people are very convincing. When they don't get what they want, they change their delivery on it until they get it very precise and convincing.
So they're practicing all day, every day.
They're practicing all day, every day. And we unfortunately have a lot of people that give into it and send money.
Smart people,
Yes.
educated
Well,
people.
and that's the thing is these scammers, they do their research on their victims. They know their address. They know, some of them even know their social security number.
That was my friend the other day was concerned because they had so much information about him,
Yeah.
which you can get so much offline and learn a lot about an individual by doing any kind of research. And so that was one thing that kind of had him feeling like it was legit. But I will say the sheriff's office will never call somebody and say, you got a warrant. If you miss jury selection, more than likely, worst case scenario, a summons would be sent for you to appear before a judge, maybe for contempt of court. And then if that summons, if you didn't appear, then a warrant could potentially be cut for your arrest.
Yeah.
But that's worst case scenario, probably not going to happen. And so if you get a call like that, it is a scam. We're not going to call and tell people that they have a warrant for missing jury duty.
Unless you pay by buying gift cards and giving us the code.
Buying gift cards and giving us the code
you won't
off
be
of
arrested.
it. Exactly.
And sometimes they spoof our number. It may
They
look
do.
like our actual number, and it may be an actual
And what they'll
name
do,
of a real employee.
a real employee, so they research us
Yes,
as
they
well.
do. Yes, they
So, but yes, they will call. It'll be a phone number that looks like the sheriff's office, but then typically they'll leave a cell phone number to call back, and they'll have a voicemail that, hey, this is, Captain Joe Smiley with the sheriff's office, and it'll sound legit. And we have tracked some of these back. Personally, I had a case, and we tracked it back, and it was an inmate that was sitting in the prison in Atlanta that was sentenced to life, never getting out of there. So,
Trying to get that commissary.
yeah, so
Yeah.
to get any kind of punishment, I mean, he's already sitting in prison for
What does
life.
it
He has
matter?
nothing to lose.
Right.
And so a lot of them do come
He's
out of prison
amusing
system.
himself by
Yes.
doing this.
So
Yeah.
gift cards, we don't. So let me talk to the camera. Everyone, Sheriff Tommy Ford does not want your Applebee's gift cards. Okay, so we don't take that kind of payment. We don't take Applebee's
we
gift
will
cards.
never
Yeah.
ask for money to avoid arrest.
Exactly.
Just want to get that straight because I'm
Absolutely.
sure I'll get a call tomorrow. You need to tell people more. So we have told people. Tell us about Bayrock, because I think that is, I mean, we've hit on it before. We've talked
Yes.
about it within the news media here locally, but it's really important.
It is. And just to throw this out there, and this kind of goes with what I was going to talk about, Bayrock, is vehicle burglaries are probably one of the, or burglaries in general are what we deal with majority of the time. A lot of these burglaries are just unlocked cars. And I know from time to time people forget, think they hit the lock on their car and they didn't,
Right.
and unfortunately they get victimized. But one thing that we see a lot of is weapons left in cars. So if you are a gun owner, be responsible. Secure your weapon inside. Don't leave it out in the car in the case that you accidentally forget to lock it one night, because we do have a lot of firearms that end up getting stolen from cars.
So I've responded to quite a few burglary calls, vehicle burglary calls, and I will say I have yet to come across a vehicle that's been burglarized where a window's been smashed.
Yes.
every single time, 100% of the time, it's they left their door unlocked.
Left the door unlocked, and when we find these people, they say, I'm not going to go and break into a car because I know if I go check 10 cars, I'll probably find 5 that are unlocked in neighborhoods. So that's what they're looking for. The only time I've seen them break a window to gain entry is if they knew it was going to be worth it. In other words, they saw a computer in plain view, or they saw something valuable in plain view that they know,
Right on
okay,
the seat.
yes, this
Or
risk is worth it. I'm going to
Word.
bust this window to get in. Typically, if they don't see something in plain view, they're not going to break into a locked car.
So let's talk about that when you end up catching these guys, and then you have to figure out, you have to retrace their steps. You bring them back here to the office to one of our interview rooms. Take me through that process of the interview room, because that within itself is a whole special skill that you guys have.
Yes, and a lot of it's just being able to talk with people. You know, I think coming to the realization that everybody that goes out and commits a crime is not a bad person. You have good people that make bad decisions. So I think when you come in and you have that conversation in those interview rooms, there is a skill set that comes with it. But I think a lot of it is just being real with that person and meeting them where they are in life. And a lot of times that person is willing to open up and talk to you about their failures and what they've gone and done. And so it does take a special skill set to be able to talk to people, whether it be that or robberies or the worst of the worst, taking a human life and getting them to tell you about it. It is a certain skill set to be able to do.
Right, and it does seem like a weight gets lifted off their shoulders when they finally come off it.
It does.
And start, talking about what they've done.
That's always surprised me how quickly sometimes they will just tell you what they've done.
And you can tell the relief they have of not trying to hold that back and hope they don't get caught. Because I can assure you, typically, if you're sitting in that room, we've already got you. So this is probably as much to help yourself with your conscience as it is to help us on a case, because we've probably already got a pretty solid case by the time somebody's sitting in there.
You have been gracious to allow me to ride with you guys. Last night I rode with the team. CID was out investigating a string of burglaries that happened, and they're trying to, it's not like you guys are in a suit and tie here at the office, from 8 to 5 every single day. You guys are out there on the street, pounding the pavement, doing stuff, stopping people, trying to actually solve these cases. And because of that, your clearance rate, the crimes that have been solved here in Bay County have just skyrocketed, which is amazing to see you guys work out there, work as a team. And then there was one instance where I was riding with you. It was you and I, and we were staked out on this house. And I guess we had a warrant. Go ahead and take me through that, because I'm kind of fuzzy on that one.
Yes, and let me, typical Daffin fashion, backtrack. She asked about Bayrock. One thing I would like to say about Bayrock, and then we'll go into that story, is Bayrock has given us more tools to identify suspects in burglaries and other crimes, robberies. They've given us more tools, the sheriff, by providing everything that we have in Bayrock. So before, it may take us a few weeks to find the bad guy or the person that's committed the crime. And in the meantime, they're still out there committing crime. Now with Bayrock and the tools we have through that, we're usually identifying somebody within a day or two. And so that's cutting out a couple weeks worth of crime, which has reduced our crime rate significantly.
It's speeding things
out.
Good way.
And
people are able through Bayrock to get invested in their own communities and are helping out.
Yes,
actually.
and I don't want to be long-winded, but we have the registry for us to partnership. Just to throw it out there, we do not have access to citizens' cameras. It's an email that we say, hey, a crime happened in your area, so now you're informed of what's going on in your area. And we just ask, do you have any footage? And then it's up to you if you choose to share footage that you have that may help us keep the community safe. So I just wanted to throw that out there. We don't have access if somebody partners with us.
It's not a Big Brother situation.
It is not.
We simply just want to know if you'll give us your email so we can reach out to you.
And if people want more information on that, they can check out the episode, the Bayrock episode of Behind the Star.
But going back to your question, I didn't want to leave out Bayrock. So on that situation, had a situation where an individual had warrants for battery by strangulation on a female, written threats to kill, and I think violation of a no contact order.
Yeah.
So the day that you rode with me, I had done some research to try to figure out where this individual was so we could take him into custody and make sure that this female was safe from any kind of harm. And so that's where We rode, did the stakeout,
Yeah.
and tried to set up a perimeter, but things had to move a little bit quicker than it fully got secured, which led into a little bit more excitement over there to take the individual into custody.
Yeah, it was a full-on chase. It was great watching CID run around in shirts and ties and stuff. And
Because that's what you wear when you go
that is
out.
what we wear a lot of times. That is correct.
ended up finding him, though. He was darting between houses, and, I mean, everybody just converged. And that's a great thing about CID, too, is you have a lot at your disposal.
Yes.
You know, we had the helicopter up, we had multiple deputies out, we had investigators out, and you guys all converged in that one area, and were able to find him, and nobody was hurt.
And I will say that is one thing that the guys know. If they want to come to CID, they've got to have a heart to serve and help people in our community, and they got to be relentless when it comes to going and getting people that have done injustices to people in our community. So those are the two things, and I think you got to see it in action that day by the relentlessness of everybody making sure we got him.
I know that I've seen y'all work more than 24 hours a day.
Oh yeah, we have had some cases on homicides where, you know, we stayed out for 3 or 4 days. Basically, the only time we went home was to take a shower, put a new shirt on, and right back in. It is difficult when you finally get to the point of getting the person in custody. That adrenaline kind of leaves you, and now you're struggling, but now it's time to get to work in an interview room, and you may be in there for 4 or 5 hours, and so it is a struggle. But again, it is everybody that's in that division. It's their passion, and so I think that passion, no matter how tired you are or if the adrenaline's gone, that passion will drive you to get the job done.
You know, you talk the talk, all right, but can you walk the walk? That's my question, and I believe you can because you got numbers to back it up as well. So
That's right.
you got some good numbers when it comes to clearing cases and making sure that these crimes get solved, these cases get closed.
Yes. So as far as our numbers, you know, I think this year, for the totality of cases that we've worked in criminal investigations, we've cleared out like 81%, I believe it is, in our division. So I'm very proud of the work that we do in there. I remember when I first started, if you were clearing maybe 50% of your cases, you were doing pretty good. And now the development we've had with the training and the leadership we've had in our criminal investigations, as well as the resources that we've been given, I mean, you better be around 70-something%, or you're going to be behind everybody significantly.
Let's compare that to another agency
In the
you know,
state.
somewhere.
Yes, I
about
don't-
the same size. What so that people understand how
So
impressive that number is.
I will say now that's a totality of everything that we work. If you were going just off of UCR codes, I could be wrong, but last time I remember checking several years ago, I think the national average was like 20-something, maybe 30% clearance
Amazing.
Now
rate.
explain what UCR codes are.
UCR codes are basically going to be your certain types of crime. It's going to be burglaries, thefts,
and that's what
batteries,
FDLE puts
robberies.
together, right? The UCR
That is,
report.
and now they're moving to, I believe it's called NIBRS, which is going to be everything, so that you can see. So when NIBRS comes out, I don't want people to say, "Oh, it's gotten so much more crime."
Right.
It's just including everything. But the UCR codes were just select
Violent
few crimes,
crimes.
correct? And so, but on those UCR crimes, like I said, the national average was maybe 25-30%, and
Wow.
I know we've been over 60% on those crimes the last several years. I'm not sure what we've been the last couple of years, but I know it's at least 60, if not above that, which is one of the top in the state.
Wow.
So.
We are relentless.
Yeah.
And don't go home when we get tired. We
No.
keep pushing through until we get some resolution and some sense
Speak
of
for
justice
yourself.
the
I'm going
family.
home after this. I'm exhausted. Last
He
night was
is
tough.
actually going home after this. He's not lying.
I always love a happy ending. So on that note, we're ending it. Captain
it.
Daffin, thank you so much from CID for telling us the process, everything that you do, and we'll have you on or one of your investigators on.
Because we didn't
soon.
get to talk about some of the most popular things you do. I mean, like people are interested in crime scene.
Yeah.
But that gets a show all to itself.
Yes.
All
yes.
right. Well, we'll
Absolutely.
look forward to that.
I appreciate
Thank
the
you.
opportunity.